Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to Heroes Untapped, the ANZ podcast and awesome show for everything happening in the ANZ region towards Heroes of the Storm, all events and news and all little bits and pieces in between. I am Diskin Kerr, and joining me on the show this week, I have an awesome lineup of guests. I've got I think it's left or right, I can't think of orientation. I've got Blue Aura from XL5.
Hey guys.
Welcome to the show again, Blue. Not your first time on the show. Joined us for an awesome, huge discussion a couple of
Thanks
weeks
for having
ago.
me. Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad to be back.
Well, you're definitely I think you're a prime person for the show this evening, just with your experience in Heroes of the Storm and in other MOBAs as well, because that's going to be an interesting topic or point of discussion later on. Also joining me on the show tonight is a Sunset, who I'll get her to do a little bit of an introduction on herself, because she'll be able to explain herself much better than I can. So Sunset, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So by day, I do boring things for a TV station in Australia, which I won't name.
Yeah.
And by night, I am a freelance writer for competitive video games in general. I've done stuff for Riot Games, Red Bull Esports, and recently for Blizzard for some of their team profiles for the North American Championships. So, yeah, I just do that on the side. It's a bit of fun.
Man, that's awesome. That must be a little bit of cross skillation or something like that. I'm not sure of the term, between like your day job working for a television station. I mean, that sounds pretty exciting in its own right.
You'd think it would be, but it's actually I've been there maybe like nearly 7 years. So
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit over it. I do stuff
right.
for the news and live sport, and so the news can be a bit
Yeah.
But yeah, it does sort of translate over a little bit. Bit of editing, all the writing and stuff. Yeah.
All right, well, it's cool. It's still very cool, but even more awesome that you're also freelance write for video games as well. I think you're living the dream that a lot of people would like to just even put their hand up and say, yeah, I do that occasionally. So that's very, very awesome. And also joining me on the show as well is Chooks from APOG Gaming. Casted a Heroes of the Storm tournament a couple of weeks ago with the gentleman, and he is on tonight's show as a bit of a Dota 2 representative. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, because you're also a HOTS man as well. But anyway, Chooks, let us know a little bit about you.
I'd probably call myself more of an all-rounder.
Yeah.
I've been doing this sort of stuff for 13, 14, I don't even know how many years now. Over half my life anyway. Being 27, it's just insane. Doing radio shows, doing casting from things back in the year 2000 to now. So
Yeah.
I come into this sort of stuff mostly with experience and trying to help prevent communities, try to advise communities on what not to do, because I've seen many explode.
All right.
And I also do a bit of freelance writing as well. Previously was the editor sort of the editor because no one else wanted to do it for Southern Cross Dota. And I'm getting back into doing all that sort of stuff as well through Gosu Gamers for Dota 2 and helping out friends with basically helping out friends with their own articles and stuff, with all sorts of other Dota 2 related stuff.
All right. That's actually, now that I realise that even Blue does a little bit of writing for XL5. I think I'm the only one on the show that doesn't do any writing. I feel a little bit out of place.
We can teach you.
Especially with the way the cameras are laid out tonight. It's like that. I hope this is not too old. Sesame Street. 3 of these things belong together, but one of these things is a lose. I mean, is not the same. Anyway, moving on. Sorry. All right, so moving on. So we got a pretty cool show. It's we are up to episode 9, which I think is just so amazing that I've made it so far. I think we'll get past episode 1. But anyway, so we've got quite an interesting show on tonight. We'll just get straight into it. So next is our Nexus news, or News of the Nexus. Still thinking of how I want the name. And first on the topic, it's a time for another ANZ Royal Rumble. After the success of the first Royal Rumble, Morton, the event organizer, has decided to run another one next month. Not this month, unfortunately, not September. We'll see it in October. But there'll be another one going on. It'll be a similar format to the event that was previously run. So single elimination games up to the grand final, best of 3. But what's really cool about these events, or about the last event he ran, is that you don't sign up as a team. You actually sign up solo style, solo queue. and you're then not randomly, but then you're distributed onto a team. So it's a really cool way for newer people in the scene, or even people who aren't on teams, to really get involved in, and have a bit of fun and see what it's like to play at a semi-competitive level. You know, they try to spread the teams out, or spread the skill out. So you might be on a team with Robodoba, Shy, you know, Skimmy from X5. I mean, it's really cool. Blue, did you catch the last Royal Rumble that Morning ran?
Watched some of the games. I realised that I hadn't signed up in time and missed out. So
Yeah.
probably going to be signing up for this one. It looked looked like heaps of fun. So
I think there was some really good feedback. I mean, it was a really great event, and a lot of praise for it. It's is an interesting thing because tonight's show's got a little bit of twist on it with talking about other MOBAs. Is there anything similar like this in League of Legends or Dota 2 that anyone's organised in the past, if you guys know? Like, it's a very community-driven event, so...
Yeah, not that I know of. It's a really good idea, though.
yeah,
By
not that I
what
know
you
of,
mean?
I agree.
You mean the format of just having a pool of people and then you sort of randomizing who goes into what team?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the nice thing is that it's not quite randomisation.
It's happened. It's attempted in the past in Dota 2, but Dota 2 is... I think Dota 2 and League are a bit more structured in their positions and roles. Less so now than what they are. So those sorts of tournaments are starting to become prominent as people are realizing I need to be good at everything to be competitive.
Yeah.
So that sort of stuff is popping in soon.
Yeah, and I can imagine something like League of Legends and Dota 2. Yeah, it's structured. They're a very different game, and so not to say that Heroes of the Storm is a lesser skill level, but you can coming into the game, it's not as harsh as something like Dota 2 or League of Legends. It's not such a harsh learning curve, but it does obviously bell curve once you start to get towards the top. So it's a really cool event. I really loved it. I got to shoutcast it last time with Kruven from Apex, and it was just a lot of fun, guys. You guys have to get involved in this. It's a great game. Oh, great tournament. Sorry. And we're still getting a little bit more details to come about if there's going to be prizes, if they're going to be streamed, who's going to be streaming, and things like that. So another thing, if you're interested in getting into streaming and getting into shoutcasting, hit up Morton on the ANZ forums. He's looking for casters for the event, and he's interested in people who haven't casted before to try and get some promotion or extra casting development. So that is the ANZ Royal Rumble. 2nd October apparently is the sign-up date for that. And at the end of the show, I'll post the link in the chat so people can go check that out. All right, so that's one tournament happening next month. Flow into another tournament. I mean, it's so good in the ANZ scene right now for Heroes that we're getting so many more events happening. I think there was a while there was an event a month, and it looks like we're having an event every 2 to 3 weeks. So good to see it improving. So this month we've got our, in a weird way, this weekend is meant to be the September X5 monthly brawl that leads into the Super Brawl series for October. However, might be a little bit of trouble for it. It's we might have to cancel it because the event organizers had a little bit of trouble happen recently, and it's just things aren't working out for me. May have to cancel the event. Does anyone possibly have a little bit more insight to exactly what's going on? Because up until about 2 hours ago, I thought this event was all steam ahead.
I briefly spoke to Happy just a little while before, and yeah, he seems pretty tied down at the moment. So, I don't think he wants it to be cancelled. So, you were co-casting that or casting it, right?
Yeah. So I am down for as one of the casters, but I don't know if there's been much work towards finding a second person to do the show with. So I don't quite know how that's going to go forward. Plus, there was also a little bit of an issue with a couple of Latin American teams trying to sneak into the roster.
I didn't know about that.
Well, it's a couple of days ago. Well, it was actually last night. I was just doing up the show notes, and I looked at it and I went, "Oh, that's cool. We got these 3 new teams. I've never heard of these players before. That's pretty awesome." Added all their captains onto my friends list and was having a chat to them, and I just came up something about ANZ, and they said, "Oh, we're not from ANZ. We're all Latin Americans."
Right.
So that was a little bit of fun, and I see some of the teams have been removed. I suspect there's one team that's still on the list though.
I think Happy's had that issue before, or maybe it was Local, who runs the TeamSpeak server. And basically, when you jump on TeamSpeak, you can see like a little flag pops up from where they're from. So that's how we used to kind of work it out. Obviously, they can get around that, but Yeah, maybe sneak him into
Yeah.
TeamSpeak channel and be like, hey, just want to see how things are.
Yeah.
Haven't seen you around before, and then catch him there.
Yep, yep. Well, I was thinking they'll be in for a rude shock when they start jumping the tournament and they start getting to some of those really high ping servers.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you like playing on our Oceanic servers now? All right, so that's happening this week. That's happening this weekend. There's still sign-ups for it, guys. Feel free to jump into that. Hopefully, it's I think there's about 5 or 6 teams at the moment. Really good, really healthy. Looks way better than it did at this stage last month. I think there was heaps of last-minute sign-ups. We got about 8 people. But to have 6 prior to the deadline, which is tomorrow night, midnight, guys. That's Thursday, 17th of September. But pretty cool. Don't know. We'll just sort of move on from that. Hang on. There's a note here. It says, XL5 actually signed up. Oh, cool. Last time I checked, they weren't part of the bracket.
I added a couple of notes to that. Yeah, Skimmy's going to be out this round. So KVA and Ninja were still looking to play. And they've got me, Azure, Ben, and Hack on board to come play. So, be good fun.
All right. Oh, that's pretty awesome, man. My camera, it's lost focus for some reason. All right. So, there we go. It's back. Say blurry disconcur. So, anyways, that's happening this weekend. However, also happening this weekend, this is going to be a huge weekend. Not only do we have the September Brawl, but we also have the North American Championships for Heroes of the Storm, the huge event that feeds into the Road to BlizzCon, the WCS of Heroes of the Storm. So you get back-to-back tournaments. You get that on Saturday morning, and then Sunday morning at about 2 a.m. If you want to tune into the Blizzard channel, you can watch the North American Championship start. What's so special about it? Team Immunity is in it, guys. How awesome is that? ANZ being represented in North Americans, and I think it's going to be great. We talked about the brackets last week, but are you guys excited? Are you guys going to first off, you're going to wake up and watch Team Immunity play live, or are you going to guys check out the VODs?
I wouldn't have gone to bed yet, so definitely going to be watching and cheering them on.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to try for sure. Try and watch it live.
I'll be awake at work, so I'll get paid to watch it. Lovely.
Awesome. That's what I love to hear. I'm really looking forward to it. I've actually taken a day off work so I can watch the Sunday and Monday games as well. So I've got big hopes for Team Immunity. They're in a tough bracket, though. They've got to, I think they got Tempo Storm.
And they got
Cloud9,
Cloud9.
Yeah,
Cloud9. I mean, they're doing so well at the moment, like taking games off Tempo Storm in the bracket with Cloud9. I think Murloc Geniuses are in the same bracket.
Yeah,
as well.
it's Tempo Stormed, Cloud9 Immunity, and Murloc Geniuses.
Yeah. Oh God, how?
It's gonna be...
I spoke briefly to Rob a couple of days ago and just asking him how he's going and if he's feeling confident. And yeah, he said he was a bit nervous about heading over there, but overall the team's feeling pretty confident. And I don't think they're expecting to walk straight into it and just absolutely dominate and get the usual kind of first or second guaranteed to them. But yeah, they're still going in confidence, so we should be prepared to see some pretty cool games.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think I've said it heaps of times tonight. Really excited. It's so I guess Chooks. What about you, mate? It's do you have any thoughts? I mean, obviously we're all excited to see him play. How are you going to go? Because I think they're up against. I can't remember the bracket. I think they're up against Tempo Storm first.
They're up in a very tough bracket indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't followed Heroes of the Storm as much as I really should. But sort of comparing them to previous Australian teams that have made it to these sorts of tournaments, like the International 2 for Dota 2. Australians, Kiwi teams were always known to never really sort of look too high in other people's minds, but we always punch above our weight. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how they go over there, how they cope with the pressure, and just to see how much further they can go in the future. I mean, to see what else they can do with these tournaments. And to get the names out there and say, hey, guys, look, we're actually a thing. Please don't ignore us.
Yeah. It's
the underdog. It's the underdog format too. As not format. So the underdog pressure is really nice as well. When people probably won't research you as much. So
maybe that it might
could be handy.
Well, the ANZ, we're pretty bad right now for putting up VODs on YouTube and stuff, so that might work to their advantage. They're unresearchable. All right, and that's I guess also Sunset. What about it's? I know you say you've looked at the bracket and you knew it way better than the rest of us. Do you think? Do you think Team Immunity might have a chance against? Because I think it's Cloud9 they go up against first, and then after. Sorry.
Well, so they go against Cloud9. So let's assume. Well, if they win against Cloud9, that's great. If they don't, they'll play against the loser of the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that would probably be Murloc Geniuses against Tempo Storm. And that's like zombie EG kind of, and like, I mean, I don't think it's impossible. Like with things like this, especially with like a game that's sort of like youngish and having like not many international tournaments, I think it's really crazy when like metas collide and just anything can really happen because people like they just prioritize different things. And I know that like when I spoke to Immunity, a few of them had done a lot of research. You know, some were just like, meh, it'll be fine, we'll just play our way. And others were like, nah, we've done a lot of research, we think you can do it. And so, I mean, I think that you're right in that Immunity is sort of hard to research for them, or if they even think it's a priority. So, I mean, it'll be interesting either way. I reckon they'll be like really awesome games. They won't be boring because it'll just be the metas colliding.
Speaking of metas, that's actually one interesting thing to point out. They generally kind of have a set meta over there, or you can get a rough estimate of what they're going to be drafting. Over here, we don't particularly have a set meta. We, as a whole, kind of value some heroes more than others, and we'll see them picked up more regularly, but we see completely different things picked all the time, so we've got nothing set. So it makes it even harder for them to, if they were to research IM, to work out what exactly they're going to pick.
Do you think that's going to be, because it's it really wasn't a big thing, but I think I hyped it up, Robodoba playing Sonya. Do you think that's going to be a bit of an emergence? Because I think Sonya's starting to make a bit of an emergence on the NA meta as well now. So
there's a Na'Vi played him with Abathur the other day, and they stomped with it, so I'd be surprised if we saw some Sonya picks.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that until they started playing with it. It's like, I wanted that to be like cool, and the surprise, like, we picked Sonya because she's super awesome. Take that. So that's
watch.
But that means it's going to be a big weekend. Let me just check my details. So sorry, I said 2 a.m. Sorry, it's actually going to be 3 a.m. in the morning. It's going to be 1 a.m. for me because I live in Western Australia. But for you Eastern Staters, it will be a 3 a.m. start time. So just go to bed early or don't go to bed at all. Just don't be weak, guys. And actually, and also to bring it up as well, did you hear about the? I think this is really sad for this team. I think Brave Ozone, is that? I think Sunset, you knew the name. Was that Brave Ozone, the Latin American team with the denied visas?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, Brave Ozone. So they ran into some visa troubles, and unfortunately they can't attend the North American, which I think is a real shame. It's obviously there's a lot of discussion at the moment. Is it Blizzard's fault? So it's not Blizzard's fault, obviously. It's just an unfortunate situation with how visas work in our world. And I think League of Legends have the LCS athlete visa in the States. But I think you guys were talking before the show that even then they still have troubles with some of these overseas teams getting into North America to play their games. I just think it's really sad. I mean, it's good that that the thing itself is not good, but it's nice that they put in another Latin American team that obviously can get visas. But I think it's a real shame that they can't. I don't. Do you guys have any opinions on that? It's a tough one, isn't it? It's not a.
Yeah, I feel for them. Like it'd be such a letdown getting to go there, especially the first event, and so close, and then getting denied because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that terrible state, like, you don't have anything to go, you don't have enough ties to your home country. It's like, we're the champions of Heroes of the Storm in our home country. What?
That's it.
And it's, I don't understand them. I'm sorry, Sunset, I think we all just spoke over the top of you. You're going to make a comment on that as well?
Oh, yeah, this thing is, it sucks. It's really sucky. It'd be really sad for them. But, hopefully there'll be more opportunities for them. And... Yeah, I know that they released a little bit of a statement, and it was unfortunate.
And like even then, like even the team thing, like, gee, do we want to continue on Hero of the Storm? So I feel for him. It's terrible. Hopefully, Furious Gaming, I think, is the Latin American team from Argentina that's going to be replacing him. I mean, hopefully they just rock. I'd like to see them rock the scene. I'd like Team Immunity versus Ferocious Gaming, just to really rub into the North Americans. Like, see how good these other teams are. Guys getting romped. All right, so moving on. So big weekend, guys. Be excited because I am. Oh, it's gonna be so good. And just scrolled all the way through my notes to the wrong section. And also, yesterday, I believe it was, Blizzard through the world of Carrot, I guess you could say, in their Heroes League system, and they released an August leaderboard for our MMR placement for rank 1 players. It's kind of nice. It's cool to see this list of who tops in the 100. There's a lot of Australians on. Sorry, a lot of ANZ guys on there, so that's really cool. However, it's a bit lackluster, isn't it? It's just like it's not even an Excel spreadsheet. It's just like a typed out notepad list. Who's at the top and who's at the bottom. What do you guys think of that? Good or bad?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying before the show, it's something that I'm pretty sure they just knocked up to see what they could do, see what sort of tools they could do, and even to see how similar it is to, what was it, the Nexus one, I think it was, that everyone was comparing it to?
The Hot Slogs thing as well.
The Hot Slogs, yeah, that's the one. Gosh, too many games. I follow way too many games. I don't even know what's where anymore. But it was nice to see some similarities on there, but to see all the differences as well is something that I'm pretty sure Blizzard will take on board and sit there going, hey, okay, it's a nice list, it works, but let's see what we can do to actually fine-tune it and make it even better. But I mean, it's unless you put it out in public, no one's going to know it's there, so you're not going to get any feedback about it. And a group like Blizzard are really good at shutting out 90% of the people anyway, or the people who are just going to have a whinge and a moan about something. So it's definitely something to look forward to, and if they can polish it and get something going, it'll look neat.
Yeah.
Definitely not trying to shut down any of the players that made that list at all, but I think it also shows that Blizzard's matchmaking system might be a little bit different to anything we've seen or what to expect. Because, as we were mentioning before the show, there's some players we'd expect to see on there that we don't see on there, and other players that we do see on there with kind of newer accounts or not nowhere near as many games played. Up there in the list, which is a bit strange.
Yeah, it's even looking at it, it's a list that's been made, and there was a couple of restrictions. So you had to be ranked 1, had to play at least 50 games of Heroes League in August, and then obviously you had to have played Hero League in August itself as well, which sort of asks that question, like, this is kind of a surprise. If people knew that this was something that they could work towards or try and develop towards, you probably would have had a much more competitive Hero League experience, because you could have jumped in and tried to increase your standing. And then there's also the thing that this was still a time of 5 stacking, wasn't it, as well, in Hero League? So there's potentially a lot of people who've been carried to their 100. Like, I'm sure that's not true. Everyone on the list is an amazing player, but like you say, it's probably not quite a true representation of the top 100 in the NA scene, because obviously it's North American, but it involves it'll be Latin America, Australia, New Zealand, anyone that falls under that NA region. Do you think they could have gone a little bit further and actually made the different regions? Like, because I think that obviously they did Europe, but they could have done the Latin America scene, the China's got their own servers. They could have done the ANZ scene. They could have done the demographics a little bit better, so we can even just see our own regions as well. That's why I say it's lackluster.
They could potentially do that because it flags, when you sort of get into logs like that, so it flags what sort of area you're from, what data center you're playing to. So they could sort it out by data center and say, okay, there'll be discrepancies sometimes. So say if you've played at least 80% of your games on the Australian data center, then they could pop it up on a region by region list.
Yeah, it's something they could have easily done. I think it's really lackluster. I like it. Blizzard, please don't stop doing this stuff. It's great. I like the direction it's going in, but I just feel it's a little bit lackluster. It's a notepad. It's a notepad file on their website.
So 2 weeks ago we were discussing having a competitive ladder. Having just one ladder in game would be unreal. So why they don't implement it, I don't understand.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Like, it would be good just to know like what region they were all from, because I think there's so many like the rank 5 player Mia. He's from their Southeast Asian qualified team.
Yeah.
Trinity, who's 13, is also from their team. Like, I think it'd be interesting to see, like, even if they just said what server they're from, that would be cool in the top 100. Like, and I feel like eventually they'll put something in kind of like how StarCraft has with, like, a ladder and stuff. Like, you never know with Blizzard. They might do something like that eventually.
Yeah.
Another thing with... Sorry, you go.
That's the thing as well. You see, they're not new to this either, so they know what needs to be done, what can work and what can't work. So
yeah.
Another really important thing to mention to do with region-specific ladders is if you do look on Hot Slogs and look at the master players, a lot more of your high-ranked players are from NA because they have more players their level to steal points from. Whereas if we look in the ANZ region, I barely use Hot Slogs, but I check it on occasion, and my entire page, if I get wins, will be maybe 0-1 points. And if I get losers, it'll be 29, 56, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's almost impossible to climb above the 3.3k barrier. People do, but it's much more difficult, whereas you'd be winning 100 points, 200 points if you were playing in our people.
Yeah. Yeah, if the, what do they call it, the rank disparity wasn't so great, there's a potential for more points, less points, yeah. And totally, it's really cool. It's like so close, so far. I reckon they could release even some more stats, like who did the most damage in that list, who took the most damage, just cool things that you could even sort the list by. So, I guess I'm probably just salty over the presentation. I'm saying this is my third time saying it. It's just a notepad list on their website. Not even
it's
a
kind of like that.
page.
Like all their sort of heroes' websites are kind of a bit ugly. Like it's like they're going to work on it later to make it look better, but right now it sort of has that kind of feeling. Like their esports site and everything. It's just a bit, notepaddy.
It's essentially what happens when Steve from accounting gets bored, and decides to jump on Excel spreadsheets and plays around with something. That's just, it's not like they've actually poured a team into it probably. It's just, some guy that's just done it.
Yep.
And it's like, it works. It doesn't work well, but it works. There's something. Now we're going to go focus on something more important to us.
Yeah. It's cool. Like it's a cool thing, but it's all about the polish, really, isn't it? It's all about just polishing that the presentation element behind it. But that's enough. I don't talk about the leaderboard too much. It's cool. Hopefully they do it up. Be great to have it in game. But it's good. And we'll probably see a lot more people trying to get their MMR up now as well. So that might be a cool thing as well. See Hero League improve in quality. I know. All right, moving on. So that was pretty much our big events and news items happening over the last week. Just a couple of team highlights. Just basically a couple of the big teams are still looking for members. So Team Basilisk is currently looking for a DPS off-tank, a DPSer and off-tank, a healer DPSer, and then a DPS in sub position role. To me, it kind of sounds like they're looking basically for their team. But I mean, Basilisk were in they placed 5th in the ANZ Championships. So they've definitely got a team with a bit of momentum behind them. So it's a really good team for the guys to come up and join. Talk to Close Combat #1960 if you're interested in trialing for our Team Basilisk. And also moving on, we also have Apex are currently looking for a ranged assassin. Apex again is an involved, not a developing team. They're I'll call them a tier 1 ANZ team. Is that a fair call? Apex tier 1, if you had to rate ANZ teams in tier. Very good team. Almost just missed out on the ANZ Championships. Just a couple of unfortunate games for them. Just lost it for them. But they're also looking for Range Stash. Another great team to get a part of. Talk to Arcana #1292 to be the ranged assassin. Are you the ranged assassin Apex needs? And moving on. And you might be able to shed some light on this yourself, Blue. I know XL5 have been looking for some... for our support and flex players since I think it was Zekin and Luckadog stepped down from the team. They've been searching for a while now. Have they found anyone yet, or are they still...
They had a lot of applications, so if there's anyone listening and they applied and didn't hear back, which I'm fairly sure they responded to everyone, that's just because they had so many people to work through, and they had a couple of stages of testing. They just want to find the right player for the team.
Yep.
I think that's nearing a close now. Not too sure. Haven't heard too much, but hopefully we'll get some answers soon. If you're still looking, feel free to message them. But yeah, I'm not sure where they're at.
No, not too easy. And that is message Skimmy. And unfortunately, I didn't write down Skimmy's numbers for his battle tag. But I'm sure you guys can get in contact with Skimmy. He's easy to find. Just Skimmy XL5 Captain. And moving on now. I don't know if this is someone joking or not. I think we've got, but I've got to say it anyway. I apologise in advance. Silas, Silas, or is looking to form a team called Cage Zero, Melbourne-based team, training evening nights. I don't have much details from. I don't know how serious it is because it just I was in TeamSpeak and he was going through all the channels harassing everyone. So I don't know if it's a full team or not, but if it is, check it out. Cage Zero, upcoming team, might be a good team to start jumping into and developing with if you're not quite there at the high-end competitive scene yet. And last but not least, another new game on the scene, team on the scene, Ascended Gaming are also looking for a sub player, and I'll give you the link to that after the show so you go and check out Ascended Gaming. Hopefully they're still looking for a player and they haven't already found one yet. They said sub. I don't know what position they're subbing for, but they are looking for sub players. And that is it for team highlights at the moment. I guess one great team highlight. Team Uni's in the North American Championships. Woo! 1 to 3 a.m. guys, Sunday and Monday morning. Quit your jobs. It's time to get behind Team Uni.
I'm gonna be
I
so
need a
tired.
Barcraft event.
Oh, that would be so good. I was contemplating trying to organize one for for this weekend, but what's open at 1 to 1 a.m. in the morning in WA? That's
Not much.
Yeah.
You'd have to try thinking of like a fancy little pun to go with it. You know, like since all the games and stuff seem to be in America and we seem to watch them at early morning,
Yeah.
could have like a Heroes of the Dawn sort of.
Yeah, Heroes of the
watching-
Dawn.
Not bad. Not bad.
Oh, hang on, I gotta write that one down. Where's my pen? That's beautiful.
Dad jokes.
Oh,
Herald Week, thanks for the fish.
far out. That's good. I like that one. All right, and that's it. So that's all the kind of big news, events, stuff happening in the scene at the moment. I'm sure there's been heaps more developments we haven't been able to talk about, but it's as always, guys, everyone in the chat and stuff. If you know of something happening and you haven't heard it on the show, give us a yell on the forums, in the game, on Reddit, whatever. Get in contact with me, and I would love to promote your event or news or anything that you guys are doing. So moving on, so going to move on to our discussion topic for the night. So I have to apologize in advance. I might have bitten off more than I can chew because I know a very small amount of Heroes of the Storm, and I want to have a conversation about what Heroes of the Storm can learn from League of Legends, Dota 2, and just other MOBAs in general. Not from a game mechanics perspective, because I mean that's not even a debate, it's not an argument. All games are different, they offer different things. I don't care about items, I don't care about people carrying
Hitting
things.
and
They're different games, they offer different things. But what I do want to talk about is all those little things that League of Legends and Dota 2 have done or have learnt themselves that Heroes of the Storm could potentially leverage off. I mean, so just one example is Heroes of the Storm had a 5-stack hero league, and then a 4-stack hero league, and now it's a one-man duo queue league. League of Legends, Dota 2, that's what they had. You know, they do a one-man double duo stack for their rank systems. Couldn't the Heroes of the Storm just have learnt from them? I mean, there's a reason why they do it that
I
way.
don't think so.
I completely think so as well. I don't see the point of even having two people queuing up for something in here. Like what they should do is have team, which means you go in there with the team. Doesn't matter if the team is 2 people, 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah.
And then just turn Hero League into pure solo queue, because that way then it's a better representation probably of what people are looking for from that anyway.
Mm.
So I don't see why they don't just do that and why they haven't done that from the start, to be honest.
Well, that's exactly it. That there's these little things they could have learned on from other games. I can't quite remember the League of Legends systems, Sunset. I'll just leverage off you here. Is that the same thing? They have like a solo queue and a duo queue? Or?
Yeah, it's like solo/duo queue.
Yeah.
And and then you can have like a team of
And then-
5 that has subs, so you can sub people in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all they've got though. But I don't think that's perfect either.
Yeah.
I think Heroes has got it right in the sense that like our quick match is like no pressure basically.
Yeah.
Whereas if you play a normal in League of Legends, you have to already be good. You know what I mean? Like you have to, you can't just jump straight into a normal game without getting into strife from your teammates and all of that. Whereas in Heroes, it's a bit less pressure. So I think that's one thing.
I mean, the League of Legends, like I'm trying to remember from when I played. Cause I played it let's call it heavy casual, as in I didn't really pay attention to what I was doing, but I played it every day of my life for 3 years. Still terrible at it, but didn't they have like a unranked draft mode? Is that sort of something that they had in League of Legends, or am I just making stuff up?
No, they do have unranked draft, but I think it's draft, or is it? I don't know. I haven't played in ages actually.
I've probably played more recently than I have.
Yeah, I don't know. Like most of the time when I played it, like you just play ARAMs because you're too scared of going into normals.
Yeah.
Because like it's not really not like a pick ban the unranked.
Yeah.
It's a everyone just picks and fights over what lane, what position they're going to be in, and it all goes to shit all the time, and it's terrible. But yeah, that's what I like about quick match anyway. That it's a cruisy sort of way to learn the game.
Yeah. Well, I've read a lot on I've read a lot of people's opinions, and I kind of sort of wrote myself as well. Is I think Heroes of the Storm needs a unranked team league or unranked hero league or whatever it is.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like take what they were doing with the have a 5 stack or 5 stackable unranked draft league. Unranked draft. Yeah. I think that would be just a great thing for them to have. And I feel that things like League of Legends and Dota 2 that have these game modes, regardless of if they're done well or not, they have them, and you would assume people are using them, or they would have like turfed them. Again, this is something that Heroes of the Storm I think could have learnt or leveraged off these other games. I mean, these other games have these modes. People will play them. People like them. The HOTS scene himself has been asking for them. There's got to be a little bit of something for them to pay attention to.
Yeah, I reckon unranked draft will come.
Yeah,
for sure. Eventually.
I think they'll have no choice but to introduce it at some point, because it introduces people to the whole, there's a difference between what you just queue up for and just, pick whatever you want versus this is what you could be doing if you want to get into slightly more organized play, get into that slightly next level bit of strategy, but not have the consequences of being ranked.
Mm-hmm.
In ranked at the moment, I don't think there's enough pressure to be super serious and competitive. So to me, it's pretty much already like an unranked. For me, the only reason I don't do quick match and play ranked is because when you enter the game, you get to draft your team. Yeah. But if you got to draft your team on either side, it still wouldn't, that'd be identical to me.
Yeah.
Until they fix the ranked just being an XP bar, then it doesn't change much in my mind.
Yeah. Is there anything we can learn from, say, the other MOBAs in that sense? How, I think we maybe already touched on it a little bit. How do they separate that? How do they separate that difference between so you got your casual mode, and then maybe getting into competitive mode, and then your next thing that makes you competitive goes to the next levels, blah 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 blah. What how do they differentiate? Are they having these same problems that Heroes of the Storm is having, or will be having once they introduce these systems? Do I make sense with what I just said?
You do. I'm trying to sort of word one properly. I mean, I know the League of Legends has more of a tiering sort of system. I'm not really that big of a League of Legends player at all, since I jumped ship a different direction somewhat. But from a Dota 2 perspective, there's a lot more emphasis around just playing unranked, and that's mostly because they haven't focused so much on what the matchmaking ranking is. They don't really care. They don't want to fix the system. The system's broken. Everyone knows it. No one really cares about it. And that's the main thing, is that at the end of the day, it's almost putting an arbitrary number in something, because your ranking in like a team matchmaking situation or doing something solo is going to be a lot different to what it is when you're actually playing in competitive games.
Yeah.
When you've got people in the Dota 2 scene in North America who are sitting around 4,000 or 5,000 MMR, if anyone knows the system, and that's considered, above average somewhat. But these are people who, in one person's instance, just recently captained the team who won a cool, nice slice of $18 million.
Yeah.
And he's someone who he only just recently got his solo matchmaking rating because no one cares about it. It's got nothing to do with how you actually play the game.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually something negative that the leaderboards are going to introduce as well. As people are going to want to do this, can actually play Hero League, probably pick the so-called flavor of the month type heroes, and just keep trying to play them constantly. Say, this hero is an easy win. Let's keep doing this over and over again. It's going to have negative feedbacks as well.
Yeah. Oh, I never actually thought about it in that light before, and that's actually an amazing point. And again, it's happening in other games. It's that's actually a pretty groovy bit of feedback. So you've just blown my mind.
That's what
I think in any game, you're still going to see people spam picking the flavor of the month.
Yeah,
that's always going to happen. But yeah, I do like the point where, like, at what stage are you just fighting over meaningless points?
Yeah. As
opposed to, and Heroes of the Storm would be a perfect example because it's so team focused that your solo ranking won't really matter too much at all.
Yeah.
In comparison to a full team.
It's I was reading something in regards to League of Legends because I was trying to research these other games a little bit more for the show, and hopefully I haven't taken this out of context because I read so much stuff and then I just sort of used alcohol to wipe it from my mind last night. No, that's not quite true, but it's still no longer in my mind. But I remember they were talking about, I think in League of Legends in particular, you rank up, and I think someone was talking about in the solo or duo queues, when you get to a particular tier, and I'm not very good with the challenger tiers, diamond, platinum, whatever, then going to challenger, whatever it is. But they were saying when you got to a point, if you weren't in a team, there was potential that you would be picked up to be at that play level or that skill level to have that rank, but not be on a team was like, oh, that's a bit of weird. We better, and someone would pick you up. Is that a thing, or have I just misread someone's opinion on the internet, sort of thing, or have I just made up something? Like I said, I can't quite remember what I'm talking about now, and I apologise.
I think challenger is a bit of a big deal-ish, sort of. Like if you were gonna get picked for a team in League of Legends, you'd have to be challenger, or else they just
Yeah.
But that's how they sort of rank. They put a lot of importance on that themselves. So, but again, it's sort of like it's different though because even though it's a team game, in League of Legends it can just be one player that carries the whole team. So, individual, your solo queue ranking does matter a lot more, I suppose, because of the nature of the game. So
okay, so that's almost a counter thing to the thing we're sort of talking about tonight as well, as talking about can heroes learn from other MOBAs, but in the same breath, I guess Blizzard have to be careful because their MOBA is so team focused that some of these things from League of Legends or from Dota 2, they just won't translate over because a high ranked support may not be as good as a high ranked carry in League of Legends isn't the same as a high ranked support team player in Heroes of the Storm. You might be great by yourself, but when you get into a team, you're toxic, or you can't play together, or you're just a terrible person to gel with. Yeah, sure, you've got a high single ranking, but your team concept or your team rating is kind of bad. So that's an interesting also sort of counterpoint as well to bring up.
I also think with roles, it's also so much harder to climb MMR if you're a support player, because if you're a carry player, and your support player or your tank players are bad, you can pretty much use them as cannon fodder and just kind of try and play around them and capitalize on that. Whereas if you're a support player and your tanks or your carry players are awful, there's absolutely nothing you can do. So yeah, that's another issue that some players would face climbing ranks in this environment as opposed to like in a solo queue environment especially.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. That's all right. So I'm just trying to think. It's this conversation hasn't gone in the direction I thought it would, but I really love the different angles that we're discussing on it. It's just stuff I never thought about. I was like, oh man, they got to separate hero ranked to unranked. I mean, it'd just be so good. And then you're right, it's just numbers. It's like shit, yeah, it's just numbers. What's it going to mean? It's got no real meaning, got no value behind it. And it's not even from a value of the first position would be really cool, but it means nothing. And then looking at something like League of Legends, but then you got to be careful of the different game perspective, like how the games work as well. It's a little bit. It's nice bringing it back down to earth. I have to admit. Just thinking about it now, I was like, yeah, it's putting things a bit more in perspective. Or maybe we're just a terrible player.
It's that whole vanity thing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm the big advocate of it. It's like I've played in competitive scenes and stuff. I've done high level gameplay. I've made New Zealand teams and stuff for various things. It's like I just don't feel the need. I mean, even looking at League, even at Heroes of the Storm now, it's like great. I have to play 20 games of this whole Hero League stuff just to get assigned a certain rank or whatever. Then I've got to climb to number 1. It's like why?
Yeah.
It still does give you a rough idea though. Like I don't think you can just completely discard it. For example, you look at StarCraft, and if you have a Bronze League player play against a Gold or a Diamond League player, the Gold or Diamond League player are basically always going to win. So yeah, being 2, 3, 4 ranks above someone doesn't indicate if you're better than them or not.
Yeah.
But being like 20%, like different percentile better than them, then it definitely does.
Has a little bit more stock behind it, a bit more value.
It definitely does. I just can't be bothered doing the queues because of the people you end up with all the time. You know, it's just, I mean, in a nutshell, this is the Australian New Zealand scene. There's a small population. You're going to run into the same people all the time, and there are a lot of people who just want to play and screw around, and a very small group of people who just want to completely screw everyone else over. So, I mean, it's something that'll get through eventually, but it's not like I have this need to do it, because I know from playing the game for the last year or so from the alpha, I know I'm good at the game. I don't feel the need to have to get a number to prove that.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a meaningless value to a point, to an ESC. All right, that's very, very cool. Just something else I was wanting to bring up as well is I had some other questions to ask, and I just looked at my conversations like, completely breezed over all those. They're not going to make any sense now. Asking right this second, but something I've sort of started looking at as well is in League of Legends and Dota 2 and any other MOBAs is their support system, or like a little bit of support services network around what they do. I don't know if Heroes of the Storm needs the ticketing, like the tournament creation or ticketing system for Dota 2, but how Gucci is that? I mean, I think that's a really well designed. Oh, that's probably not well designed. Let's say a well developed system. It brings a pretty cool thing to the game that people can run their own tournaments, have them charge or not charge. It's all done in the game. The tournaments run in the game. I don't know how much experience you guys have with those systems. I have no experience. I've just read about them, and it sounds really cool. Is that something that Heroes of the Storm could potentially benefit from? That would maybe make things in the game a little bit cooler. All these different leaderboards attached to tournaments. It's like, wow, he won the amateur ANZ tournament run by Jeff or something like that. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts or opinions on systems like that Heroes of the Storm could leverage off, use, steal, whatever the terminology is in that regards?
I definitely think it would be something great. I mean, it's a way of segmenting each tournament to its own little thing, and it's a way of when you're looking at trackers and stuff like that. I mean, we're looking at it from a Dota 2 perspective, where you've got the tournament tickets and all that sort of stuff, and I do stats for these guys as well. Yeah. It makes it really easy to look at a tournament individually, and it's there because then you've got the ticketing system, which can help you track exactly what games were played under that tournament. It's also a way to provide extra money for prize events and stuff. Even if it's a 99-cent ticket, you can still get a portion of that going towards the prize pool. Yeah. Which is how it's mostly how the International 5 this year went over $18 million US. It's because of the ticketing system. If they didn't have that system in the game, and be able to tie benefits and stuff to that tournament, items and all sorts of bits and pieces you can get and help support the tournament, you'd be looking at maybe it's the standard $1.6 million again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's the little cool thing as well you can attach to it, because I didn't totally understand it, but because of Dota 2, how you can get items in the game to change the visual appearance of your character, a bit more vanity again, but you can tie those to tickets, can't you? Like you can tie, if you buy this 90 cents ticket, you can view this tournament or you can enter this tournament, but you also get this item that you can attach to character X, Y, Z or whatever. And just another cool little incentive thing. So it's not necessarily a give me $1 to watch my tournament. It's give me $1, you get to watch the tournament, but you also get something. Where I think that's a little bit of an issue with it. Here's the Storm at the moment. We've talked about prize pool tournaments, but people hate this notion of giving someone else purely a monetary value or advantage or something in Heroes of the Storm. But I like that they can potentially get something that's not quite monetary out of it. I don't know. I think that's a really cool thing. Just that element, and I think that could be just tied to so much other stuff in Heroes of the Storm.
I'm not too sure if it was something that'll work too well in HOTS though. Since when you're looking at individual player skins and stuff, character skins rather, it's a whole thing. Yeah. Whereas with Dota 2 and I believe League of Legends as well, you can have different little pieces of armor all over the place. So it makes it kind of simple for things like that. And you've got couriers and all these other bits and pieces too, wards, all these things you can tie even more custom objects to. Heroes of the Storm, not so much. So I don't see a ticket system for like a compendium system rather that Dota 2 has. Sort of like, hey, buy this, you can get this item for this and that and the other, and all these little bits and pieces. I don't think it would work so well in HOTS, but I still think a ticketing system, even if it's free, just to help organize the tournaments, would be great.
Yeah,
that I completely agree with, but I think that's just going to be so far away. Like they haven't even got bans in our drafts yet.
Yeah,
we need to go use a different website to draft properly. So that as amazing it would be, please, if Blizzard are watching this, do it.
Yeah.
But
so what's the big thing that Blizzard can learn from other MOBAs? Introduce proper banning into your games. Every other MOBA does it. I know you talked about why they didn't want to do it, but just do it. The player base want it. Everyone wants it. You're already letting go in your tournaments by having tournaments that actually promote double bans. Let's just go ahead and do it. Oh. I love it. Blizzard, just listen to your player base.
It's something that you have to do as well. Honestly, if they want the game to keep going the way it is, they need to do it. Other games have gone well because they've listened to their player base and gone, okay, if this is what the competitive scene wants, ergo, this is where the money can come from, let's do it. You look at a game like Guild Wars 2, who didn't. They completely ignored the community when it came to, introducing the guild and the wars to their name. They completely screwed that up. All the competitive players left. That was it. Player base died. So if you want a player base, listen to them so you can keep them.
Just keep your fans happy.
Yeah, speaking of player base, and that you kind of asked one question in your pre-write-up as the opinion on the current state of the scene. And we're kind of touching on the subject that the ANZ, specifically hot scene, is pretty small. And I know I went through and thought of a few reasons, but we're talking about kind of the success of the game at the moment. There hasn't been much kind of motivation for players to go, oh, Heroes of the Storm, definitely going to have to play this. We look at Dota 2, we look at LoL. LoL, more specifically, just the timing was perfect. Nothing was really kind of around at the time. They came out, the only competitor at the time was HON or Dota 1, which people were kind of ready to move on from. They also had the free payment model, which meant that they kind of won out over HON. So that's kind of what got them kickstarted. Then Dota 2 was a bit more late, but Dota 2 already had a massive fan backing from 8 years of people playing the custom map. They had it so the moment you started the game, you had every hero. You didn't need to kind of ditch LoL if you're playing that and unlock everything again and go through the grind. So that was just incentive to jump straight in and play and have fun. Their advertising, which is really important. Their Dota 2's launch event was massive. I saw it everywhere. The hype over getting a beta key was massive. I wasn't even particularly interested in playing Dota 2, but constantly, because I was playing HON at the time, everyone I was speaking to was like, oh, you're going to transition, you're going to swap across. And so in HON, people were already going, cool, we might swap. In the other games at the moment, I don't think there's many players going, oh, should we transition across? Should we sacrifice everything and start fresh? And I think that comes down to a ton of factors that Blizzard just, I don't know if they didn't pick up on it or if they didn't engage with their community or listen or...
I think it's more because with this game, with Heroes of the Storm, they were looking at a completely different audience. They're looking more at the people who don't want to spend, I think the average League of Legends game in one of the tournaments I recently read was something like 34 minutes. Dota 2, you're looking at close to 40, 44, 45 minutes, and that's not including your drafts, which can take 10 to 15 minutes beforehand. Heroes of the Storm, in comparison, is
Yeah.
generally a much shorter game. So they have focused on something completely different. They've also done away with having to worry too much about items or any sort of monetary mechanics in the game. They've done away with experience in large, and I say this mostly because you gain experience on the map, everyone gets it. So it sort of caters a lot more to team fights and sort of going, okay, how can this group of 5 people that we have chosen beat the crap out of this group of 5 people that those guys have chosen? Whereas with League of Legends and Dota 2, you've got, okay, now we've got 5 people, they've got 5 people, now we've got to think about items and who's going to get all the farm and who's going to get all the levels and experience and the skills up in time, and there's just so much more to think about in those games. The Heroes of the Storm, if marketed right and if done right, is the perfect MOBA for people to start with right now.
Yep. And I think that's definitely a thing that they've it's I don't like saying it, but yeah, I've already said it once tonight anyway. The learning curve for Heroes of the Storm is much smaller than any other MOBA. I think once you get to the top level, it still ramps up, and you still have that sudden change from your standard player to a competitive player, and it's got very much very similar things to every other MOBA out there. But yeah, the initial getting into the game is is easier, and I think you're right. There's a piece of that with the marketing that they haven't quite established their market yet properly. Just out of interest, because we sort of talked about that, establishing it. So we've talked about these launch events. What were the scenes like in particular for League of Legends and Dota 2 at the start in Australia? I mean, it's we talked about, like, a lot of people are like, oh, Heroes of the Storm is so small, it's got so long to grow, blah blah blah. Like, did Dota 2 and League of Legends explode onto the ANZ scene? Like, were they instantly successful overnight when their servers were released in Australia, or is it just did they have to go through the same struggles that Heroes of the Storm is, or is it a different story because they didn't start in Australia? Sorry, in ANZ. Sorry, they didn't start in this region. Everyone here had to play on the NA servers or the Asian servers or European servers. Like, how does that change the fact that they've released into the ANZ scene straight away?
Well,
I think that helped them a lot because you have players that, when you're sort of looking at old Dota players and old players who played Heroes and New Earth and that sort of stuff, we were forced to play on US West servers anyway, or bought Aussies for the Warcraft 3 stuff. So it did help a lot because there were people who were already playing the game, and then the people that were going, oh, hey, cool, there's Australian servers coming out for this. But they didn't really explode. They were relatively small compared to what they are now.
And Sunset, you're going to bring up League of Legends.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, like, the thing with, like, League of Legends when it came into Australia, like, I had to interview a bunch of pro players in Australia for a couple of things, and a lot of them didn't even want to move to the Oceanic server because they knew that their competition wouldn't be as good.
Yeah.
But the only reason they ended up staying was because of the ping. But I mean, the thing is that, so League of Legends model and how they make money and how they market, like, esports is their marketing, right? So that's the reason they pour all the money into their esports stuff, is because people watch it, they see their favorite players playing whoever, and they go and buy that champion or they go and buy that skin, like, and Blizzard don't have that issue, or I mean, it's not that, like, it'd be good if they would invest more into esports, but the thing is, that's not how they make their money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, sort of comparing sort of League of Legends growth to HOTS growth is sort of like locally, it's just, you can't really, I mean, the thing is, you can't compete with that. You can't compete with that investment. You can't compete with, Margaret Court Arena and Luna Park in Sydney. That's not how Blizzard work, I think. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think if we're talking about growth, you can look at how StarCraft is in Australia and was at its peak. The thing is, like, having a small scene is not a bad thing, as long as it's self-sustainable, if that makes sense. So we had in StarCraft 2, and still do, SC2C.com, which is just like a big community of people, and it's not really big, but they ran, weekly tournaments for lower level players and weekly tournaments for higher level, and they did that, you know, people casted it and blah blah blah, and a lot of those people have moved on to like bigger and better things. Like, you know, 2 of them cast for IEM now, but they all started in like small little communities, and as long as everyone's happy and as long as everyone's like, you know, it's supporting itself, that's okay. Like, you don't need to be as big as League of Legends. If, you know, I mean, it'd be nice, but you know, and they won't be around forever, and another game will take over. But as long as you've got a happy community that can sustain itself, and you know, it's all good. It's all G.
I would actually be really interested to see the numbers on the Australian player base and how many people play compared to League of Legends, because I was given it a think before, and trying to work out what kind of incentives players would have to drop their game and move across to HOTS, and I kind of broke it down into two categories with competitive players and casual players. And as you were saying, I agree with you that the game was kind of more marketed to casual players. But for any kind of casual player that may have played the other games beforehand, I mentioned before, moving across to get into the game, all the heroes are really expensive for both gold and money, so they can't play the heroes they want to play straight away. If they want to do kind of ranked and draft, it's hours, days away for them to be able to access it, because you've got to get to a certain level. Then you've got to have 10 heroes, which is already difficult enough. Yeah, I mentioned sacrificing everything from the previous games, and they're kind of stuck playing the same hero over and over. Like, a lot... Yeah, at the moment, there's not much variety in your hero picks. There's more than there was before, but if you're playing a healer, you're going to be stuck playing basically the same healer over and over and over. If you pick Brightwing, people are going to get mad because you're not going to be able to do the healing output. So that means you're stuck on Uther, Malfurion, and Rhaegar, and half the time you may not even get to pick the right one if you're not playing quick, if you're drafting. So kind of narrows that down. For competitive players, if they're looking to come over and just kind of be at the top, there's not a large scene for them to compete against here. There's no cash prizes. There's, as I said, lack of hero pool. And as you touched on before, there's a lot less depth to this game than there is. By depth, I mean mechanical depth. So the other games, you've got to be focusing on your last hits. You've got things like portal key on different heroes, or so many different items and builds, where this game kind of plays out very similar a lot of the time. And the variables are generally kind of your champions. And yeah, as we said, no bans in drafting. So if they're looking to kind of move into the game, start jumping into Hero League and play competitively, they don't even get that kind of experience. So there isn't too much incentive in my mind for players to transition across at this stage.
Yeah, I think that's actually something too that you mentioned there, that I don't like seeing in games. This is probably one of the reasons why I never really touched League of Legends. Is gating heroes, gating the ability to be able to pick what you want, do what you want. When you're sort of looking at when you're sort of trying to draw not really experienced people, but people who might want to play at the high level and actually get competitive, gating heroes and doing things like that is a very, very negative thing, because it's going to take them so long to go, okay, I want to grab all these heroes and really sort of learn them. They then have to grind to the point where they have to get those heroes first, and by that point they'll know whether or not they want to bother with the game. It's not something I like in these games, especially from a company like Blizzard, who already rake in the money from other games. I don't think it's something they really needed so much to gate them to that certain point anyway. I can see it from League of Legends' point of view, because if League of Legends didn't exist, Riot would be dead. Whereas with Heroes of the Storm, you know, if HOTS didn't exist, Blizzard would be fine. They've still got, you know, World of Milking Craft anyway going to milk money out of people. That'd still be okay. But they need to introduce something. If they go into the point where they're doing unranked draft, unlock the hero pool. Honestly, there's no reason.
You can't even buy the hero. If you've got the gold sitting there and you're in the ranked queue and you're the last person to pick and no one's picked a tank or a healer and you don't actually own any, if you've got the gold sitting there to pick it, you can't actually quickly buy it then either. So you're stuck. We experienced that a couple of days ago, and pretty frustrating.
All right, so even just a minor tweak like that might be something that Blizzard should investigate looking in. So, all right,
Accessibility is all we ask.
Yeah, yeah, You think just from a concept of a game itself just being free initially to download, but yeah, I guess even if you do if you have the unfortunate experience of not being able to pick up 10 heroes by the time you hit level 30, yeah, you'd have to potentially wallet drop about $150 into the game to have 10 heroes. If for some reason you didn't use whatever gold you earned to get in there, even then you still might have to buy 5 or 4 heroes. Oh no, you've just had to drop $60, $70 in a game where now Dota doesn't have that sort of initial investment, does it? Or even League of Legends again doesn't have that huge initial investment if you wanted to start getting good. If you want to start to be competitive or look at competitive. So yeah, no, it's an interesting one, and I really like the Sunset. I really like that idea of, well, not even an idea, but just looking at it. Blizzard aren't focusing on a Heroes of the Storm esports scene. It's not their draw card. It's not their money pool.
Yeah, it's not that it's not important to them. Like, it is, but it's certainly not to the same extent. And I think that next year, I still think it's a little early. Like, I know that the game's kind of been released, quote unquote, but I still kind of want to wait a little bit. Kind of after BlizzCon in the new year, I want to see what they do. I'm like interested to see if they do something like the WCS with StarCraft, if it's going to be similar to that.
Yeah.
Or if they'll do something completely different. And with all, like, you know, the unranked pick and bans and stuff like that. Like, I do think it's going to come. I still feel like they're still working on things. I don't know if that's just me being silly, or that I sort of feel that way about the game, but I still feel like it's still very much in development. It doesn't even feel like it's in release to me.
That's something like League of Legends and even Dota 2. How was the feeling upon them being released? It's I'm trying to remember back to my first experience with League of Legends, and it felt like a fairly solid game on release, where I feel Heroes of the Storm, and I love your game, Blizzard. Please don't ban me from everything in the future. Yeah. But we've just been given a very polished beta game. Yeah, we've been in pre-season for the last 3 months. The team league's already had 2 or 3 changes. Hero League's been slashed, it's been stacked and unstacked and restacked. And even just some of the interface is a bit cluggy. You know, Heroes League, if someone types in the chat while you're trying to pick a heroes in Hero League draft, half the heroes are gone. Or what page is that freaking hero on again? Where's Uther? God, there's a guy with a beard. Oh hell, fucking now there's, sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but oh god, there's a couple guys with beards now. Far out. Or
or just trying to chat to your team. But the list goes on. Like, we're seeing massive hero reworks after the game's been created. Usually you see that a couple of years down the track when either the hero's stale, will no longer fit the meta, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're also seeing talents that are never being picked up, and that's not being addressed.
Yeah.
They say they're addressing it in some patch notes, but you're not really seeing that. And when they bring out balance patches, we see radical changes. So they bring out... We can just mention the Murky, where Murky was just absolutely rubbish. No one would ever touch it, and then they nerfed him further. So, yeah, I'm not sure what goes on in behind the scenes with their balance department, but definitely agree that it's a beta game. It's not polished to especially Blizzard standards, who, in my opinion, have always had really high standards of polish.
Yeah.
In a way, though, I kind of like that. I kind of like that it's really dynamic as well. Like, it's sort of a positive and a negative. But I enjoy that things still get changed to, like, a really massive extent. And that's kind of like, even in balance patches, how they do, like, radical changes, that's what they do in StarCraft as well. You know, I think might just be their design policy, or like a design process kind of thing, where they're just like, let's just throw this thing out there and see what happens, and watch the data and watch the win rates and see what happens. Like, that's what they do with StarCraft as well. So I think that's just kind of their thing.
Some of their radical changes I do like. For example, I think they don't account for everything when they do these radical changes. For example, they may nerf a top tier tank at the time whilst buffing, I don't know, promote or nerfing it, which indirectly will make him even further weaker, which means he'll never see play again. So Diablo and ETC were doing really, really well. I think they maybe both got minor nerfs, but then Joanna and Skelly King are released, and those two are just so much stronger that
Yeah.
you're never going to see those picked up again. And yeah, without any kind of changes in that area, they've just again slashed their hero pool, which just ruins it for so many players.
Yeah, but that's just a reflection on how small the hero pool is at the moment. I mean, the fact that you can weaponize the double ban system against support still at the moment. I mean, that's just a reflection of these hero pools are so small. Again, look at Dota 2, look at League of Legends. They have huge, huge hero rosters. Now, I don't know how viable all the heroes are on those rosters. It's I'll just say Dota 2 heroes, by the way, look sick, I have to admit. I was looking at some of them last night. But they have such a diverse roster that who cares if you ban out this one OP character, that one OP character, because there's 20 others with similar names and similar skins that do the same thing. Where Heroes of the Storm, we don't have that yet. So is that just a time thing, or?
It's not something I agree with there at all.
Yeah.
Like, Dota 2 only recently has completed the hero, or actually we've still got 2 heroes to go. We're now 4.5 years into the game or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's still 2 heroes left to port from Dota 1.
Yeah.
So when you sort of think about it that way, it's only really in the last couple of years that Dota 2 hero pool started to be rather polished. Yeah. And even still, you've still got every single hero is completely diverse. There are a lot of heroes that are complete trash that aren't even looked at sideways because it's like, no, like you could look at probably a good dozen to 2 dozen of the heroes and sit there going, no, these guys aren't even worth putting into a kebab stick and sticking in the barbecue. They're not worth picking at all. But then you've got a group of 10 to 12 heroes that are pretty much picked 80, 90, even in 2 cases in the last tournament, 100% of the time across 89 games.
Yeah.
You just can't get, those numbers are just absurd. But it's something that's going to change because then a patch will be released. You'll sort of nerf, and what they do is they sort of nerf things very slightly. And quite often they'll nerf something on it. So it's like, okay, this hero is rather strong and is stunning and he's really good at pushing, but they won't nerf those. They'll nerf something else. They'll go, okay, well, let's just tweak something else a little bit, So then you make the strengths their strengths and then sort of make their weaknesses just that little bit more weak. And that's how they sort of buff and nerf heroes in Dota 2 now.
Yeah.
It's something that Heroes of the Storm will get to once they've completed a hero pool. Once they've sort of gone, okay, this is enough sort of heroes now. We can start, getting some numbers. Stop adding so many heroes as they're doing right now, and start balancing them against one another. And that's the thing that happens when you release something new, is that you get your Johanna, then you get your Wraith King, and they do become stronger at doing something than someone else simply because they're a new hero with a new concept.
Yeah.
And they haven't yet sort of balanced numbers and gone, okay, what would happen if it was Diablo versus Johanna? What's going to happen in different teams?
Is that sort of what they I don't know if you guys know the answer, but in League of Legends, that's sort of an approach they take to their releasing new heroes. So it's not. So I guess to just put a little bit more words into what I'm trying to say. So one thing I do like about how Blizzard is releasing their heroes is that Johanna's come out, and I think you're saying this with Dota 2 as well, is that Johanna hasn't been nerfed. Like, she's an exceptional tank, hands down exceptional tank, and you'd think an instant response would be just to nerf Johanna and pull her back down to into the fold, but instead of doing that, they just haven't done it. They just haven't addressed it at all. But is that potential like a good thing? Like, how about instead of pulling heroes down, we bring heroes back up? I think that's what they do in Dota 2. Are they doing that in League of Legends as well? Is that the kind of the release the hero if they're too OP? But then how do you bring such large hero pools back? You can't say, all right, this hero is awesome. 52 heroes, everyone gets the buff next patch.
I think it's a lot easier to actually bring heroes up than it is to nerf them. If you were to do something like, say, if you look at Johanna and you say, okay, let's nerf something, what are you going to nerf? Like, if you nerf a certain point, you could drastically change that hero from being a top tier pick to suddenly becoming something that's not even worth being on the hero pool. And you've got to be really careful when you come to nerfing heroes that every single hero has a very unique situation. They might be tanks, they might be supports, but every single one is completely different in that sense. Where Johanna is the sort of tanky, is a very tanky one who is very good at controlling a fight.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at someone like Diablo, for example, he excels a lot in being disruptive in 1v1 as well. Picking people up, stunning them, throwing them. And then he has half decent tanky presence as well by saying, I'm not going to do damage to you, but good luck, have fun killing me.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to try to tweak that and to go, okay, let's look at something like, say, Diablo's ults. His big AoE stun thing that he's got. Not the lightning breath, the other one. I can't even remember the names of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But that's one that's not really. That's one that's not really used, and it's like, okay, what if we change that to something else? Try to tweak that instead and bring it back in, because lightning breath's still good. in some situations. So feel things for that instead, and see if you can bring those up by changing a skill that you know for a fact doesn't get picked up as often.
If you look at something like, I was kind of comparing it the other day in my mind, that you look at the passives on heroes, and Joanna's passive is absolutely incredible. So the activatable D, and then you take it one step more, and the later release was Skelly King, who his passive is he comes back to life. Well, if you go back when they released Diablo, his passive is just to come back to life earlier. He gains a bit of extra health, but if you compare Skelly King and Diablo, whose ult's better? It's without a doubt Skelly King's better. He gets to be like give vision whilst he's dead. He gets to get up like on top of an objective, and he has the same basic same exact concept as Diablo. So either then you need to rework Diablo, you need to rework Skelly King, or you got to tone them down in different ways. So yeah, I don't know if it would be easy to bring it up or bring it down, but what I do definitely think is that if you're from the start, they should be working to keep everything as balanced as possible. Because if you just chuck everything into a mix, it's going to be a lot harder to find that kind of even ground without just keeping it as even as you can along the way.
All right, awesome. Well, I say, guys, this conversation has been amazing, and I think I could talk to you 3-4 hours on this stuff because it's been so awesome. But we have run out of time, so that is come to the end of the show. Just final thoughts. Give us 2 or 3 sentences. It's start with Blue. Blue, just final 2 or 3 sentences or 2 or 3 thoughts.
On anything in particular?
Anything you want. And I guess do your shout out as well, where we can find you if we want to chat with you more after the show.
If people from the scene are watching, play some more Team League. It's I think a lot more fun than just queuing up in quick match. And the more people that are queuing for it, it'll mean you get to play and we get to play and all have fun together.
Yeah.
So looking forward to playing more games in that. But otherwise, you can find me on Bluecast. I've been chatting in Twitch. Follow me if you're keen to watch some games. I'm going to start putting up a few more YouTube videos, but just message me in game and come play.
All right, too easy. And Sunset, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Final thoughts on anything tonight or anything you want to very, very quickly add? And if people are interested in getting to know more about your freelance writing stuff, or even maybe what you do with the television station, I don't know, give us a shout out as well. I'll give a shout out as well in that regards.
Everyone should watch the North American Championships and go for Team Immunity.
Yep.
Unless you hate Australia. If you don't hate Australia, you will watch and cheer for Team Immunity. Just keep doing what you're doing. Everyone, like all the small tournaments, the weeklies, the monthlies, everyone just like, if you want to do it, do it. Don't wait for someone to tell you to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's about it. If people want to follow me on Twitter, it's just sunset_SC2. I write stuff sometimes about things. And I tweet pictures and stupid shit. And sometimes when I'm drunk, I tweet too much. And
everyone's going to be following you now.
I mostly tweet pictures of the beach. That's about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think they'll be happy with that.
I'm sure you get a couple of followers from this show tonight. And Chooks, your final thoughts, mate, opinions, and also let us know where we can talk more to you. Amazing Dota 2 expert. And
final thoughts, honestly, give this game patience, guys. It took League of Legends, even Dota 2, for example, has just gone through a complete restructure. Give the game a lot of patience. Work with them and give them constructive feedback. Like, if you have constructive feedback, I know for a fact they'll listen. Don't sit there and just have a whinge and a moan because something's not right. Think of ways to improve that, and let's try to get it to them. Try to get onto, even if it's on a Reddit, to get some form of following behind it. They will listen. Blizzard are good guys.
Yep.
As for following me, you can find me at Chooks on Twitter, CHOOKZ. You can also find me every now and again streaming on my page, which I don't do very often, but need to do more of. Slacker. But yeah, I do a variety of games, and I'm always keen to jump into new ones, and I'm always part of the communities of games that I play with. So,
all right, awesome.
Jump in.
Awesome, very excited. I'm sure you'll all get smashed with at least 50, 60 followers on Twitter tonight. Hopefully, I would like to think stuff like that happens on my show.
That'd be nice.
Anyway, guys, what just happened to my video on the stream? It just died? Oh, well, anyway, I'm recording locally anyway. And guys, thanks very much. I've been Disconcur. You can follow me on @Disconcur on Twitter. And also, if you'd like the show tonight, follow me on the Twitch channel. It's our Twitch channel here, so you can see when the show goes live again next week. Also, it's do other stuff sometimes as well here on Twitch. So follow me here. Cool announcement. I really hope this happens next week. On the show next week, I might actually have Babel, the biggest SEA shoutcaster, coming onto the show, talk about the NA Championship. So tune in to next week's episode. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Hoping to get some guys from Team Uni on and all that sort of stuff. So tune in next week, guys. It should be an amazing show. And it's episode 10 as well. So my little, 10th anniversary for the show being continuous. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, everyone. You've all been fantastic. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. And I will see you all in the Nexus. Hey guys, it's Disconcur here. Just a quick thank you for watching the show tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making it. And please, if you have liked or have enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel so you can catch it every time it goes up. Thanks guys. See you later.